Great. I'd like to welcome everybody to the call, 6 Psychological Secrets to Success. It's going to just be a fun little call. It's about, how to take your skills to the next level. And when you think about this, it's something that I think we overlooked. So for this to work, you really have to be ready for some new ideas and old ideas in a new way, right? And once you do that, things start to change. Well, really what begins to happen is we think we're all special snowflakes. We've all heard that there's no two snowflakes alike, because of the way it is. And then people are the same way. No person is exactly like another person. Genetics, and even if the genetics are similar, when you look at identical twins, they're, the shaping and everybody's different. So we are totally special and unique. But are we special? Are we unique? We are special, but are we unique? Success is a process to enjoy. But what begins to happen, what can block you out from success, from mastering a new skill and success in general, is when you think you're totally special and unique, but you take that to the next level where you say, therefore, none of this is applicable to me, or I won't do it this way. It's kind of like if somebody gives you a cake recipe and you say, yeah, I like that. I love the cake. Give me your recipe. You take the recipe and you change a bunch of things because you're special and unique. Then you complain because the cake isn't like what the other cake was. Well, you didn't follow the recipe. You tried to tweak it too early even sometimes, if you know what I mean. So anyway, yes, we're special, but we're really not all that unique, especially when it comes to success or following through or learning a new skill. First thing you have to do is what everyone else does. You have to be willing to back up and start forward. There's a process I like to talk about, why some people succeed and others do not. And why some people succeed at multiple endeavors, and others don't, obviously. And can we learn from their models? Well, what happens is there's a phenomenon, or it's called, what's your motivation to change, right? What's your motivation to change, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, right? If it's high, if it's an 8, 9, or 10, your motivation to learn something new, a new skill, is high. Great, right? Great. But what's your willingness to change, right? Willingness to change, right? On a scale of 1 to 10. Now, this is the good one because if it's low, you're not going to learn, even if you have high motivation to learn a new skill, to make money, to master a skill, to do something, right? It's not going to work, right? Because it's like, let's say your motivation to change is a 10, but your willingness to motivation to learn is a 10, or learn a new skill, master it, but your motivation to really change and accept new ideas is 1. Well, if you time that, if your motivation is multiplied by your willingness to change. So if your willingness to change is a 0 or 1, then you're really not going to change. You need this number to be way up there. So if it's, if your motivation to change is a 9, or motivation to learn is a 9, and your willingness to change is a 9, that's 81. Now you're in a high thing to make some changes, right? But if you're, it's kind of like, if you always did what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. So you have to be willing to do that. And one of the things you look at people that succeed, learn new skills, take things on, is we can learn from their model. A kind of an interesting one. We'll see where it goes. I do follow some sports, mostly just football, but I just read about Tim Tebow, who was if you're not a big sports fan, quarterback for University of Florida, very good, all that. Couldn't make it in the pros, played a couple years, hasn't been in for a while. Well, he just tried out for a team. Well, one of the problems was he always got slammed was on his mechanics of throwing a football. Of course, he played quarterback, and that's one of the things obviously you have to do as a quarterback is throw the football. Well, he spent 2 years relearning all his mechanics. Well, he just tried out for a team. They didn't sign him, but everyone who saw it was super impressed at his new techniques. And one of the things he said was he had to be willing to back up and realize, yes, he was successful as a college person doing this, this, and this. And when he first got in the pros, he was somewhat successful doing what he did before, but it wasn't good enough for where he wanted to go. He had to be willing, really willing, to back up and admit he couldn't do it and learn new things. And he spent a couple years doing it. Hopefully it works out for him, but there's a model there, you know, that we can follow. So what's your desire to your success goals? So what's your openness to new ideas and actions? And can you look for ways for whatever you're doing to add to work for you? Or again, do you always look for ways to be special? You know, because again, your desire is limited or restricted by your willingness to change, right? And so, you know, if you want to be a new person, you have to be a new person, right? And I'm working on this. I'm trying some new things, right? So like I came up with a technique, and it was called Success Track. And I studied 3 different people, and it was just kind of presented to me. And I, you know, was watching and listening to Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, and Michael Jordan. And this was like a long time ago, before Donald Trump, I thought, lost his mind, when he was still mostly a business guy. But what happened was, you know, I noticed that all 3 of these had similar processes. And what it was is they associate into successes, right? And they disassociate from a setback, right? Or a failure, if you want to call it that. But they would call it a setback, a learning experience. You know, Bill Clinton talked about he learned more from the election he lost, right? He learned a lot from the Monica Lewinsky thing of, you know, what he did wrong, not the action. To me, the action was, you know, it was what happened afterwards, right? Donald Trump talked about all his successes in business, and it was I, me, my team, me, my, this. Same with Bill Clinton. I did this, my team did that. Then somebody asked Donald Trump, it was Larry King, about, you know, Trump Air, which didn't work. And he went, well, even the Donald has a few things to learn. Same with Michael Jordan when he quit basketball and went to baseball. You know, the guy said, well, that was a horrible experience, a failure. He goes, no, I learned a lot. So they have the same process. Associate into success, disassociate from a setback, but remember the learnings, right? Because we're, you know, we're creatures of habit. But what begins to happen when you do that, you're much more likely to take little more action, right? I just read some research that said, you know, small bets pay off in big successes. In other words, if you do a little thing in it, you can build on it. But what keeps you stuck is you won't even do a little thing. Because if you only associate into things that didn't work well, you won't take the risk for another one. You know, if you had a horrible relationship and a horrible marriage and got divorced, and now you're like, I'll never get married again, I'll never date, I'll never fall in love, because I had this horrible, you're totally associated into the pain and the suffering, you're not open to anything new, right? When you look at people that can move on and be successful, it's because they move on and are successful, right? So what we want to do is model that. So what are these subconscious processes? You know, well, first of all, you have to know your target. What do you want? Many people don't know. What's your payoff in getting what you want? What does it do for you? You know, you say money, well, that's not necessarily a good goal, but what does it get you? Freedom, power, flexibility, access, right? Well, money then becomes a better goal because you're going to gain these, right? There may be other ways, but your goal must, yes, absolutely must light up your neurology. You have to want it. Your family can't want it for you. Your loved ones, you have to want this. And it must bring you some kind of pleasure, right? It doesn't matter if it doesn't bring other people pleasure. You know, if it lights up, I call it lighting up your neurology, you'll work hard at it. You know, right now I'm directing a play, and I actually had to step into it, and I'm in the show. And we were talking in the green room before the show started, or I was off stage, everybody's talking. But I just kind of made the comment that it's funny because I usually don't like to work this hard, right? but the goal lights up not my neurology, doing a good performance, right? And this one, I had a couple goals. It was to direct a good show, and then I had to step in and be an actor. But it brings me pleasure. Other people, no. But that's what makes it fun. That's why it's so much fun working with people, helping them get their goals. Number 2, you have to be self-aware, right? And this, you want to master a new skill, you got to be self-aware. It's the good plus the bad plus the inner plus the outer. What are the good activities that move you toward your goal or your payoff? Let's say you're learning a new skill. What activities from that moves you toward it? Now, what activities do you have that's not helping you toward your goal or that are time wasters, right? They call that majoring in minors. I remember working with a guy trying to get his practice started, and, he kept getting bogged down. Oh, I need the perfect, I still remember because I went nuclear. The perfect, like management software for scheduling and all that. And I'm like, dude, you don't even have an office. You don't have anything set up. Get all that going. But he wanted it was a time waster. It put off really going toward the goal, right? And this one goes into the inner, his habits and drivers. Well, one of his drivers was he was fear. He needed everything to be perfect. Well, if you ever open a business, run any kind of business, it's never going to be perfect, right? So we had to work with that, And then what are the habits? Again, going back, what are the habits of successful people? Don't worry about a failure. I just heard the head of Google, the new head of Google, talk about they have to fail faster. What is that? I've heard that from other successful people. What does that mean? Try something new. If it's not working, you move on to something else, right? And this one's kind of painful. If you look at 5 people, friends and business associates that you spend the most time with, chances are, let's say in the business world, your income's close to theirs, right? So if you're hanging around with people not making money, you're probably not making money. So you need to start hanging around with people making money if you want to make money, if that's one of your goals, or be successful. You need a next level skill set, right? Sometimes that's painful because you have to leave behind old people. I tell people, a personal trainer friend of mine, had a lot of carrot cake last night for my anniversary, my AA anniversary. I'm not used to all that milk product, so I got a little scratchy voice. But my friend that's a personal trainer said, you notice that in-shape people hang out with in-shape people. If the 5 people you hang out with the most are not in shape, chances are you're not in shape, right? Because they will ostracize you when you get in shape, It's interesting, but it's true. So, you need to pick friends and business people. And guess what? With the power of the subconscious mind, you can do this in your imagination, right? So these people become your friends, and your business associates, right? So it can move up, because as I said, the average income of those 5 people is your average. Their success level is yours. Their lifestyle is your lifestyle. So you have to decide on what you want and get those friends and associates. Because you notice successful people hang out with each other at conventions. Let's use this world, right? Well, it's because they speak the same language, and it's just what they do, right? And I remember teaching this to a couple people, and they actually followed through on it. They were open to change. So at the next convention they were at, and I was with them, they went up and they went out of their way to hang out with the movers and shakers in that world. So it's kind of cool, right? So it's a miracle. So decide on the lifestyle you want, and then mentally develop those friends. Read about them, follow their webinars, dress like they do, act like they do, kind of imagine they're your buddies, right? Because again, thoughts are things, and that becomes your skill set, right? And self-awareness is knowing what you're not good at. First, knowing what you're good at, and just knowing what you suck at, right? And then outsource, hire, or delete the things you're not good at. You can understand it, but you don't have to waste a lot of effort on this, When I started changing my business model and doing more on the web, well, I took classes. I still take classes. Met some great friends, that teach like internet stuff, right? I need to understand it. I'm not going to go and I don't want to start building a business on building websites, right? But then I can outsource intelligently, right? I was just working with someone, a medical person, who had some issues with their website, and we're talking, and they told me what they were doing, and I'm like, oh my God, you got screwed, and it's just because I went and learned enough about it so I could be intelligent, and if I need to do something, I can do a little something, or I know how to outsource what really needs, right? And then you really need to do some daily activities. What's 3 things that you can do in 30 minutes that move you toward your goal? And if that goal is learning a new skill, like if you're new to NLP, and what's 3 things you can do in 30 minutes or less that move you toward that goal? And maybe one thing that's more long-term, right? Spend a few minutes on this. So if you're learning a new skill, like NLP, you pick like maybe a language pattern, maybe a technique, and you review those, and then you go out and you practice those. And then maybe you spend a few minutes that day reading about something else in the field, right? So you need to keep it simple, right? But also remember, normal tasks don't count. Seeing clients, returning calls, but take about a minute. You never want to do more than a minute to make up a list about this new skill you want to add. What can I do? 3 things I can do to help me move toward that goal. Make a phone call on a new business, whatever it is. Practice a skill, right? And then do it. Then you need to challenge yourself, right? Do something new and challenging. It could be unrelated to your career. And because what's interesting, when you look at the real movers and shakers, they have multiple passions, NLP, of course, everybody knows, is one of my great passions. With hypnosis, and it kind of spins into addiction, the whole self-development mind thing, right? But I have other passions, theater, singing now, because I suck at it. I want to get better at it, right? So it's unrelated to my speaking and training career, but is it? If I'm a better singer, dancer, actor, guess what? It makes you a better presenter. I've learned to modulate my voice better. It stretches my brain. It grows new neurological connections. And passion is transferable. If you're a passionate person, you have multiple passions, right? And it keeps you humble because it really makes you realize that you're not an expert at everything. Because you really want to turn people off, become one of those persons, because you had success, maybe built a hypnosis practice, maybe built another business, but now you think you're an expert at everything, right? What turned people off to Donald Trump? Well, he was successful at real estate, and then he got successful at building a TV show. Now tells you people he's an expert at international negotiations. Because I've done some business negotiations internationally. But guess what? That's not putting troops in harm's way. He won't ever admit that he doesn't know. And that's what turns people off. People love confidence. They hate arrogance, right? Then you need to immerse yourself in things toward your goal, this activity you want to learn about, master. Read about it. Talk to those that are also into it. Watch videos. The great thing about the world we live in today, they always say we live in marvelous times. You can YouTube stuff, right? If you're learning NLP, well, not just my stuff. You can YouTube it, watch other people. Some you like, some you don't like. Wow, there's so much you can do. And even if only for a few minutes, right? Then you need to fail faster. I talked about, again, a guy from Google talking about they need to fail faster, right? They look at setbacks as learning experiences. Learn from them. And realize, as we say in NLP, there's no failure, only feedback. Okay, I did some things that didn't work, right? I was heavily leveraged in the real estate market in 2006 down here in Florida. Boy, that was a learning experience, right? And I can remember what I learned, right? Which is stay with what you know. But anyway, you got to do these things, right? You got to fail faster, not hang on to it. Then you need to know your message and create fun experiences around it, right? So if you know your message, how it relates to others, let's say you're learning a new skill, if it's just for you, that's one thing, but how does this relate to others, right? And you can create fun experiences around this message, around the thing that you're learning, right? Have fun yourself. Create a fun, joyous, memorable journey. If possible, create a team. This is what I'm getting into now, is team building. I want to do everything with a team because we can leverage each other's learnings. We can do some things. You know, I'm working on a thing, developing a team for some social media things. All right. This is why there's no I in team, but there's an I in win. You win when you're part of a team, right? And then whenever you do, if it's in business, create a wow experience, right? The Disney people, you know, Walt Disney would talk about he wants people to say wow, right? So it could be that in any experience, right? You know, success track is basically, you know, if you think of 3 things in your life that you find highly successful, 3 things that you find successful. You know, now think of those things. Could be anything. If you ask me, it'd be football, army, and business, right? And you just kind of think about them, right? And then you need 3 things that maybe you learn something from. You know, you learn something from. And right now, I would say, you know, real estate, marriage, and again, business, right? So, working out. There's something I learned about working out, right? So great. So now, if you do this with me, if you just take a deep breath, close your eyes. You don't have to go into deep trance unless you want to. But if you go back and re-experience one of those successes, re-experience it, right? I experienced football, right? Which when I made the freshman football team. But whatever yours is, how I felt when I did it. Yeah, the risk paid off. The working out, the taking the chance and trying out, right? You know, not just sit on, yeah, I'm going to do that. No, I did it, right? This would also spill over in like how I got into theater, right? I took a risk. I did it. It was a small bet that paid off. And it's still paying off. You know, same with even the football thing, even though I obviously don't play, but it built in to help me take chances and do things. Great. So associate. And now hang on to that feeling, kind of feel connected to it by an energy cord, bungee cord of energy. Now go to your next level of success, another success, right? And go and experience that. I would do mine. One of my business successes. Yes, right? And feel it, smell it, taste it, touch it, and be connected with energy. Now the other success. Take that deep breath, breathe it in, stay forever connected to it. Now drift up, come back to today, and you're connected to those feelings of success, pushing you into the future. Knowing you've been successful in the past, there's nothing stop you from being successful in the future. Now drift up higher out of yourself, go back and see some of those learning experiences. In my case, I'll look at the real estate. Interesting. Drain away all feeling, cut all ties, just remember what I learned, right? Remember what I learned, right? And one of the things I learned there, to be honest, is don't take it personal, right? Great. Now go back and see another learning experience. Fade it. Just remember the learnings like it's black and white experience. No connection, no feeling. It's just, I learned from that. And then the other learning experience. Great. Now come back to today. And as you look to the future, you realize you're being pushed by successes into your future. And yeah, they're going to be learning experience. And now what I want you to do, if there's a specific skill you want to master that you're working on mastering, see it in your future, knowing that there'll be some learning experiences, there'll be some setbacks. That's great. That's wonderful. You can fail faster and move on. Right? And so you're being pushed into your future by the successes from your past. Good. Now come on back. And, you know, you can be part of a team. Right? And, of course, I pitch my teams. I've got Six-Figure Cash Practice, which is an online class that I'm also doing live over in Miami Beach next month, the Miami area, right? I do trainers training. The old dates are up there. I apologize. I thought I corrected that. I think I clicked on an old thing. But I do the NGH trainers course. The next one is in May in Florida. And then I'm going to also do the NGH trainers course and NLP trainers course in Hong Kong. So just check out the websites. I do NLP in Venice. I do personal coaching, right? So really, when you look at mastering a new skill, you got to take action, right? Action to your goal proves to your subconscious mind that your desire is true. So take a class. Take my class, someone's class. Get involved. When you look at the masters, they're taking classes. They go to things, right? People know I've been going to like a lot with like the internet and social media and this and that. Do I want to master it? I want to learn about it, right? And then it makes me go back, and now I'm looking at I was at a class last night. It was an Edgar Cayce group, and it reignited some old passions of mine. Great, right? I have a practice builder coming up in Miami Beach, as I said. I'm doing a one-day addiction course, NGH trainer, National Guild of Hypnosis trainer in May. I'm doing a master trainer in Hong Kong, and then another NGH trainer in Hong Kong. One's in July, one's in September. Of course, I do basic and master NLP at the National Guild of Hypnotists Convention. Looks like I'm just going to do a basic NLP out in California. If you've taken it, come back and sit through it. Because masters are learning. I still think of my martial arts. You go to a martial arts seminar, there'll be people that have been in martial arts and a black belt for 30 years, and they're taking a seminar, and they'll spend an hour working on a front kick. Well, they know a front kick, but it's the basics you forget that become important. Why do Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Drew Brees spend a couple weeks after every football season, going back and reviewing the fundamentals of their throwing technique, throwing mechanics? Why? As they said, it's the things you forget that sink you, right? And again, take classes, either live or online. Secretmindcontrol.com is my big push, which is conversational hypnosis. I have NLP for sales, how to write a book quickly, fat loss, of course, my NLP classes, 6-figure cash practice. I offer these, right, to everybody. So if you have more fun and do this, you can master these new skills. And again, if you have any questions, email me at Dr. Will Horton, DrWillHorton @gmail.com. I'll get you some information on any of the other classes I have and the things I'm doing. Thank you for being a part of this call. This is mostly just fun and educational. And you know what? When you teach something, it reminds you what you need to do. So thank you, and have a great day.